On the surface, this looks like a desolate, abandoned military ghost town. But right beneath the dirt lies Vivos xPoint, the largest off-grid survival community on Earth. Engineered to withstand a 500,000-pound blast, this subterranean civilization was designed for one specific purpose: to survive the collapse of the United States. Right now, Silicon Valley elites and Wall Street tycoons are quietly buying up these old World War II bomb vaults and spending millions to turn them into hyper-luxury underground penthouses. To an outsider, it looks like a dystopian film set, but to the world's ultra-wealthy, it's an insurance policy, which raises a terrifying question. What do they know about the future that you don't? The fortification of 1942. The origins of this hidden subterranean empire date back to the height of global industrial warfare, long before modern billionaires began searching the map for escape routes. In 1942, as the United States mobilized its entire industrial complex to fight World War II, the War Department required an ultra-secure, hyper-isolated fortress to manufacture and store the nation's most volatile military assets. The military constructed a sprawling network of subterranean warehouses near the small community of Edgemont, South Dakota, christening the facility the Black Hills Ordnance Depot. This was not a standard deployment base. It was an industrial munitions vault designed with singular, terrifying purpose: to house thousands of tons of deadly conventional munitions, heavy aerial bombs, and chemical weapons under a strict shroud of absolute government secrecy. For over 2 decades, the base operated as a heavily fortified city in its own right, employing hundreds of specialized military and civilian personnel who lived on site to guard and maintain the volatile payload. The structures themselves were masterpieces of defensive architecture, using massive mound of earth over reinforced concrete arches to ensure that if a single warehouse suffered an accidental detonation, the blast wave would be directed harmlessly upward rather than triggering a catastrophic chain reaction across the entire complex. However, as the theater of global conflict shifted toward the end of the mid-20th century, the military's logistics evolved. In 1967, the federal government determined that the facility was obsolete. The military systematically stripped the base of its hazardous inventory, locked the heavy steel blast gates, and completely abandoned the territory, leaving behind a massive concrete graveyard rotting silently in the middle of the American prairie. But this wasn't just a pile of forgotten ruins left to decay. It was a masterclass in military engineering, constructed in a location specifically chosen for its uncanny strategic immunity. The geometry of absolute safety. To appreciate why the modern elite view this abandoned world as the ultimate real estate asset, one must analyze the rigorous geographical and structural math that governed its original construction. The United States military did not choose a specific patch of South Dakota prairie by accident. The complex spans a staggering 18 square miles of barren, flat terrain, intentionally positioned deep within the American interior to remain entirely insulated from coastal vulnerabilities, major population centers, and vital infrastructure hubs. This extreme distance serves as a massive geographic buffer zone, providing the site with an unparalleled level of natural isolation. The safety of this geometry becomes clear when mapped against modern nuclear strike models. The entire 18-square-mile grid is located roughly 100 miles away from the nearest known strategic military target or major metropolitan area. In the event of global thermonuclear exchange, this immense distance ensures that the complex remains safely outside the primary thermal radiation belts, immediate overpressure shock waves, and catastrophic blast radii of enemy warheads. Furthermore, the structural engineering of the bunkers themselves provides an almost absurd level of protection. Each of the 575 semi-subterranean structures is built from thick, heavily reinforced concrete arches and fitted with blast-proof, industrial steel doors. The curved, parabolic design of these domes is specifically engineered to absorb and deflect a massive 500,000-pound external explosion, allowing the structures to withstand the crushing kinetic forces of close-range detonations, severe seismic shifting, and extreme atmospheric pressure changes without succumbing to structural failure. For over half a century, this impenetrable landscape sat entirely empty until a private real estate developer realized they could monetize the growing anxieties of the world's financial elite. The $35,000 empty concrete shell. The modern resurrection of the Black Hills Ordnance Depot began when a private survival firm named Vivos recognized that the ultimate military fortress of the 20th century could be repurposed as the ultimate capital asset of the 21st century. Vivos acquired the entire 18-square-mile military grid, launching a massive corporate rebranding campaign that transformed the abandoned munitions base into Vivos xPoint. The name itself was a calculated piece of marketing, chosen to represent the literal crosshairs of survival, the precise point on Earth where safety begins. By dividing the massive property into individual leased parcels, the company successfully established the world's largest, most heavily fortified off-grid survival community. The commercial framework of this venture is a fascinating study in premium real estate. Vivos began leasing out the historical military relics for a baseline entry price of $35,000 per bunker shell. However, this upfront fee is merely the gatekeeper, as it is paired with an ongoing, long-term ground rent framework and mandatory annual maintenance fees designed to fund the community's overarching security apparatus. But what a buyer actually gets for that initial investment is shocking. The consumer receives a completely raw, unfinished, 76-year-old concrete dome. The interior is a dark, echoing cave entirely devoid of plumbing, electrical wiring, ventilation systems, or basic life support mechanisms. The walls are covered in decades of dust and exposed aggregate, meaning that buyers are essentially paying tens of thousands of dollars for an ultra-fortified, subterranean blank canvas that requires a massive secondary wave of capital just to render it habitable. Selling an empty, dark concrete cave for the price of a luxury car sounds like an impossible business model, until you see what happens when a billionaire hands over an open checkbook to a high-end contractor. The subterranean penthouse. The moment a wealthy leaseholder takes ownership of their raw concrete bunker, the true engineering transformation begins. Because the underlying military shell is practically indestructible, affluent buyers treat the interior exactly like a blank plot of land in Aspen or Manhattan, pouring hundreds of thousands, and in many cases millions, of dollars into high-end architectural retrofitting. Specialized contracting crews are quietly dispatched to the South Dakota desert, hauling heavy machinery, industrial generators, and luxury finishings deep into the subterranean concrete vaults. The results of these massive capital investments create a surreal architectural juxtaposition. The grim, industrialized concrete exterior, still covered in dirt and grass to deflect blast waves, cuts instantly to an interior environment that mimics a multi-million-dollar luxury estate. The raw, windowless chambers are completely transformed into custom-designed luxury penthouses. These underground estates are equipped with highly sophisticated, closed-loop climate controls, medical-grade air filtration systems designed to scrub out chemical and radiological particulates, and custom lighting arrays. To combat the severe psychological toll of long-term subterranean isolation, designers install high-definition LED video screens that act as virtual windows, projecting real-time footage of forests, oceans, or city skylines that shift realistically to match a standard 24-hour sun cycle. Beneath the reinforced concrete arches, billionaires build plush velvet home theaters, expansive wine cellars, indoor swimming pools, and state-of-the-art hydroponic vertical gardens that can grow fresh produce without a single ray of natural sunlight. This creates a surreal, self-sustaining luxury ecosystem designed to let the elite maintain a multi-million-dollar penthouse lifestyle while the outside world faces catastrophic collapse. But this isn't just about a few wealthy individuals building isolated hiding spots. It is a meticulously planned blueprint for a collective society, exposing a deeply troubling shift in how the 1% views the future. The psychology of elite panic. To understand the sudden, massive rush to secure space within these underground vaults, one must analyze the profound macroeconomic and psychological shifts currently occurring within the upper echelons of global wealth. For decades, survival prepping was largely viewed as a fringe, rural subculture defined by eccentric isolationists hoarding canned goods in backyard storm cellars. Today, that subculture has been thoroughly corporate, evolving into a highly sophisticated, multi-billion-dollar industry that caters explicitly to Silicon Valley tech executives, international hedge fund managers, and Wall Street tycoons. The modern prepper is no longer a historical anomaly. They are a member of the global financial elite. This massive elite migration into defensive real estate is driven by a deep, systemic loss of trust in modern infrastructure and public institutions. The hyper-wealthy look out at a world defined by intensifying geopolitical instability, shifting climate patterns, and highly interconnected financial systems, and they do not see resilience. They see fragility. They understand that our modern civilization relies on a hyper-efficient, just-in-time global supply chain, a delicate network where a single computer glitch, a naval blockade, or a viral event can cause the distribution of food, water, and energy to instantly freeze. For these high-net-worth buyers, purchasing an unplottable, fortified bunker is viewed as the ultimate insurance policy against a fragile global supply chain that could fracture at any moment. It is a psychological release valve, a way to use their immense liquid capital to buy a guarantee of absolute control over an unpredictable and volatile future. And if that fragile system actually breaks, these individual concrete domes are designed to instantly combine into a fully functioning, self-governing civilization with a scale never before seen on American soil. A civilization without a world. The ultimate vision of Vivos xPoint extends far beyond a concept of a luxury apartment complex. It is engineered to function as a sovereign city-state designed to outlive the collapse of the United States itself. At maximum capacity, the 18-square-mile complex is structurally engineered to house up to 5,000 people under total lockdown conditions for a year or more without ever requiring a single interaction with the outside world. This is not a collection of isolated families waiting out a storm. It is a fully functioning micro-civilization waiting for the world to reset. The master plan for this community features an intricate, collective infrastructure network designed to replace all the standard functions of a modern municipality. The grid includes a private, heavily armed security force equipped with military-grade transport to patrol the 18-square-mile perimeter fence line. The community layout features member-only general stores, fully equipped medical clinics, decontamination chambers, and independent water wells dug thousands of feet deep into the local aquifer to tap into clean water entirely unaffected by surface radiation or biological contamination. The society even has its own internal bartering systems and community spaces designed to maintain social cohesion during a long-term lockdown event. Ultimately, this city in the prairie stands as a haunting, eye-opening preview of a deeply fractured future. It exposes a world where the ultra-wealthy have effectively given up on the collective survival of human society, choosing instead to invest their massive fortunes into building private lifeboats. It is a grim, prophetic monument to isolationism, proving that as our global challenges accelerate, humanity's cleanest and most luxurious societies are being built directly inside our old military mistakes.